Welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'll be explaining every single logic piece that has been added to the logic update in Oaklands. And this is going to be a long video, so sit back and enjoy the ride, I guess. Basically what I'll be doing is I'll be going through every single thing, every box description, what do they do, how to use them, and basically all the different ways that you can use each and every single piece in the logic update. There are some missing here, but I'll have to go to the second plot to do it because I ran out of money on my first plot here. So that's fine. You don't have to worry about that. It'll be a seamless transition. And so let us begin. So first things first, there comes the inputs in the logic. We have around 5 inputs in the game now. So let's start with the first one, which is a pressure pad. Pressure pad is basically, it gives an output of 10 when a player or object is standing on the pressure pad. So it can detect both players and objects, and it gives an output of 10 when you're standing on it or something is put on it. And that's the box, then we can just use it. And this is the pressure pad. It is very thin, and there's the output there. I'll be going over how wiring works in a bit, but I was just going to be going over the inputs first. So as you can see, you can put stuff on it and it'll give out power. We'll get into that later. Then we have a button. Button gives an output of 10 for 1 second when pressed. So basically what it does is it gives an output of 10 every time you press it, and it holds it down for 1 second. And another thing is that these things can be activated. Pressure pads can be activated by randoms. You don't even have to give them any sort of perms to use them. And an interesting thing about some of these inputs is that some of them have toggle publicity. Right now, this one has toggle publicity on because I just placed it. So that means anyone can press it and it'll work. But you can in fact turn it off, and it doesn't show if it's turned off and on. I think there should be a UI for that. But basically, now only I can use it and no one else can use it, or people who are trusted can use it, but no one publicly can use it. No random person can use it. So that's really cool. Then we have the slider. This is the box. It can give an output of 0 to 10 depending on where it is on the slider position. So this one is very interesting. Basically, you can pick what output it will give. So right now it gives an output of 0 because it's at 0. But if I increase it by 1, it'll give an output of 1. So you can have it go from 1 to 10 to 9. It's pretty cool. And of course, there's the output there. I'll be going over some outputs in a bit. And you can also do toggle publicity on this one. So now only I can use it, or trusted people can use it. And now anyone can use it, which is really nice. Then we have the switch. Obviously, a switch is the same thing. It gives an output of 10 and it's an on and off. So very simple, just a simple switch. And again, you can toggle publicity on it. Gives an output of 0 when it's off and 10 when it's on. I being the on state and O being the off state, which is really nice. Or just 1. That's 1. Here's a more interesting one. A joystick. A joystick is really interesting. It has 4 output signals, which can go up to 10 depending on how close the joystick is to that direction. So this is what the joystick looks like, by the way, and it can be pulled or pushed around by players, by any objects and players. And as you can see, it can also be pulled around. And it has 4 outputs, which gives different amounts depending on which way it's going. So this way, if I'm holding it this way, it'll give an output of 10 on this side. And I'll be using the LCD here to show how it works. And lastly, the tether is interesting. The tether is basically a way to group stuff. So okay, I was gonna use an LCD to basically show how this works. And now this is what the thing is like, but this doesn't really explain it well. I'm just going to explain it by myself. So the LCD has a maximum size of 8 by 8, as you can see. It has a maximum size of 8 by 8, so that's around 64 pixels for one LCD. And let's say we want all of the things to be on. Let's connect the tether, the end of the tether, to all of them. And if you don't know how wiring works, basically you want to go to the output or input of something right there, and it'll say create wire. You want to press E, and now you'll get this wiring interface. You can pick whatever color you want, and you can basically press E to place it around wherever you want it to go. You can also press B to go back or undo what you did. And there's a game pass where you can make them neon and basically act like lights, and then you unlock more colors below here, and you can make custom colors and stuff like that, which is really nice, but I don't really need it. And this is used for basically connecting to things. So that's actually the input. Let me just rotate it. I think they should put like an arrow which way it's going. So this is now the output. So now I can actually connect it to inputs. I can only connect outputs to inputs and inputs to outputs. You cannot go the other way around. This is an input, and this is also an input. Oh yeah, I cannot connect inputs to inputs. That's what I was saying. I messed it up. You cannot connect inputs to inputs. So tether, the input of the tether cannot connect to the input of the LCD. You can only the output of the tether can connect to the input of the LCD, and you can do it like this. You can do it like this. You can do it just directly, or you can also press E or copy wire on the wire itself, and it will branch off from where the last end is. So here you see this has two joints. This one single wire has two joints. I'm going to make it blue, and now you can see that all the wire goes all the way from this one here. But you can also do something interesting, is that if you press E on this, you see it branches off there, but if you press B, it'll go back to the one before. So I think that is very interesting. And then you can also like branch off of this one. You can pick which one you can branch off, or you can also branch off of this one by copying the wire, which is really cool. And if you want to go to like this part, let's say you want to branch off and go back and back until you go there, which is really nice. And I think this is really cool, and it'll like all go straight back to where it started from, which is really interesting. But let's just make this simplistic. So yeah, that I've connected everything. Then I can take this tether, I can then connect it to anything I want over here. So let's say I connect it to the pressure pad. I can then, it also changes the color of the things by depending on what wire it is. Then I can copy the wire. I can connect it to, oh, it's like I can't. Let's say I can connect it to this one. Like that. Same for this. Like that. And then last but not least, this one. So as you can see, the smiley face has turned on because one of them is actually on, which is the slider. So let's decrease the slider all the way. Now it's off. When I stand on this, it will give an output of 10, lighting it up to 10 on the thing. And LCDs, they give an output of white when it's 10. So that's what they do. Then we have the button, which stays on for 1 second, just like that. Then we have the slider, which will give an output from 0 to 10, and it gives a different amount of light depending on how much brightness. I mean, like basically it's brightness. So depending on how much power it's getting, it's giving a different light level on each one, which is really nice. So 10 being the highest, and then it goes down and down until you can barely see it, or you can't even see it anymore. Right now it's giving an output of 2, the slider, and there's basically no light there. And then the switch is an on and off. Then let's use the joystick. Okay, so I have wired up the joystick with all white wires, and if you look at the top right here, if I move the joystick in front, as you can see, it goes to the front. So I goes to the front, it goes up. I move it to the left, it goes to the left of that. If I go in a diagonal, it'll turn both of them on. Then I can also push it back, and it will do all of these two. So I don't know exactly how people use this, but like this is really cool. Like we have like we can make like arcade machines using this, and it's honestly really cool how this works. But yeah, this is just a simple demonstration. I'm pretty sure many people have already used this in many different ways to make like arcade machines and stuff like that, which is really cool. But yeah, that's all of the inputs we have for this. There are more inputs, but we'll get to those later. Now we're gonna we'll talk about actual logic gates, which are these. These are actual logic gates, and let's start with the NOT gate. So the NOT gate, the way it works is, this is the description. It activates an output of 0 when the input is greater than 0. Otherwise, it'll output 10. So basically, if the input of this is 0, it'll output 10. And if the input of this is above 0 by any means, it'll give an output of 0. As you can see, the slider is at 0. As you can see from looking at the wall, putting a mouse over the wall, you can see the power. And it gives an output of 10 because it has no input, so it's turning on the light. But if it has any power from before it, like the input, it'll give an output of 0 and basically not give any power at all. It doesn't matter what it has to give. It doesn't matter how many things are going into this. Let's say this is at 0. Now it's powered off, and then I can turn this switch on and it'll power off. So that is basically how the NOT gate works, and it doesn't work when it's on, and it works when it's off, it's a NOT gate. It basically makes it opposite. Then we have the AND gate. Now this isn't exactly how an AND gate works. Also, this is what the description is. It activates an output of the two inputs when the two inputs are greater than 0 and are equal to each other. So this isn't your typical AND gate where it needs both inputs to be on to give one output. It actually needs both inputs to be on, as well as both of them need to have the same value. I probably should have put this like in as the inputs, but it's kind of complicated. But let's just say this is an input as well. The number interface is basically you can put any number into it and it'll output that much power. And this is the description. So we have this here, and let's have 2 of these. So here you can see it has a value of a 1 here, and you can basically input any amount of number. Let's just say 400. There we go. It has an output of 400. Same goes for the Y. It'll have an output of 400. It can be literally any number. Just like that. It can be any number. Doesn't matter. So let's say we use 245 for this. Right. So that means for this AND gate to give an output, this also has to be 245. Right now it's at 1. And as you can see, this has 45, 245. This is at 1. It's 0 here. But if I put 245 here, both of them are now 245, and it'll have an output of 245. So it'll only give an output when the two signals are exactly the same. Doesn't matter if they're on or off. If they're both on, that's not how this AND gate works. This is more of an equal gate. So if both of them are equal, then it'll give that output and it'll turn on the LED. An interesting thing about the LCD, you saw it didn't turn on. LCDs actually have a value from 0 to 100. So if I go and put 10 in the LCD, you can see it's turned on, right? And if I go and put 11, it's turned off. But then if I put a value of 15, it gives red. And if I go 20, it gives the brightest red. So the way it works is 0 to 10 is just white. It's just all white. And then after that, every multiple of 10 after that becomes a color. So 20 is red, just like that. 30 is orange. And then so on. 40 is yellow. 50 is green. 60 is cyan or bluish. 70 is, oh, that's weird. 60 is blue and then 70 is cyan. That's weird. Okay, then 80 is pink. And then 90 should be purple. Yep. And then 100, I think, is just, it's supposed to be, yeah, it's just full white, like really bright white. I think it's called silver, what people call it. And then 110 is just black. That's it. And everything above that is just, doesn't matter anymore. That's it. So because of how it's 20 is like red, you can actually get lesser red color. So if I put this one 15, you can see they're both red, but one is way brighter than the other one. And same goes for every other color. So if I do 95, that's silver. And then if I do 100, that is bright silver. So now you know how LCDs work. That's how they work. So that's the LCD. Then we have the XAND Gate, or the can't remember what it's called. So this one is interesting. It's similar to the AND gate, however, it will only output 10 when both inputs are equal to 0. And it's kind of just a NOT gate. Like, a NOT gate works practically exactly the same, because if you think about it, since you can connect wires like multiple times on input, you can just do this. So right now it has an output of 0, the XAND gate. I don't know what it's exactly called. I just call it that. So it has an output of 0 because it has one input on, and this one has an input as well. And the NOT gate, as you can see, it has an output because it has no inputs yet. But if I put these inputs, it now has two inputs as well, and now has an output of 0, and both of them have an output of 0. If I put one of them, both of them have numbers right now. If I put one of them at 0, it will still output 0 on the outputs because there's still one of them having power in both of the gates. But if I put both of them at 0, they will give an output of 10. However, I didn't do this in the video. Basically, it works also the same way as an AND gate. So if both of the inputs are, let's say, 20, it will work and it will pass through and give 20. So it's basically a NOT gate and an AND gate combined to make exclusive AND gate, which doesn't actually exist, but it's in the game. Then we have the OR gate. OR gate, well, oh, I just opened it by accidentally. This one was interesting. It actually does something. It activates the highest output of the two inputs. So if you have two inputs and you just want to show which one got the highest, it'll show that. So if I have this LCD, put it there, what it will do is, let's say I put one of these to 25, it'll go through, it'll go straight through, it'll be 25. I'll just put it at 30. So it's at orange, and our output is 30. If I put this at 20, which is red, it will not go through because it is not higher than 30. So the 30 will go through because it's higher. If I put this at 40, however, it'll change it. It'll go through and it'll take over the 30 and basically pass through the AND gate, the OR gate, and it'll go into the LCD, triggering it, which is really nice. I think this is actually a pretty useful one, where if you want to check something's higher or lower, you can use this to see, like, hey, this left side is lower than right side. Well, so that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. Then we have the XOR gate, or the XOR gate. Yes, I'm making up names. What it does is it outputs the binary equivalent of an XOR operation on each bit. Since every input is 10, a normal XOR binary truth table will work. Okay, so I did a bit of experimenting with the XOR gate, and it's a bit weird. So it works like a normal XOR gate, so you can only have one of the inputs on for it to output, and if both inputs are off, it will output nothing. If this one is on, the left input is on 10 specifically, it'll output that, and if the right one is on, it'll also output 10. But if I can turn it to that, see, left one is 10, right one, left one is 0, right one is 10, it'll output of 10. But then if both of them are on, it'll output 0. And that's basically how an XOR gate works. So if only one of the inputs can be on. But a weird thing happened when it goes over 10. If it's 20 and 10, it becomes 30, which I don't know why. And then if I put this, it's adding them right now. But then if I put the number interface on the right side to 30, it becomes 10. So now it's minusing it. But then if I put this one to 40, then it just breaks. It gives 54, which I don't know why it gives 54. I see no correlation between them, like at all. And then I put this one at 50, it gives 26. Like, I don't understand. If someone can explain it to me, that would be nice. And now it's 14. It gives 60 on the left, 50 on the right, and it gives 14. I don't know how this works, but if you just want to use it just as a normal XOR gate, you want to make sure that inputs are 10 only. So that's all the logic gates. Then we move on to the timers, or the timer gates, or the clocks, you can basically say. Let's go on to the Hertz clock. Hertz clock is also known as the frequency clock, and basically it will give an output of 10 at intervals of how many hertz it's set at. If you don't know what hertz is basically how many times in 1 second. So how much of X in 1 second. So this will output 1 power every 1 second. It'll turn off for 1 second and turn on for 1 second, which is interesting. So if you put this LCD here, connect it, it'll turn on for 1 second, turn off for 1 second, turn on for 1 second, turn off for 1 second. If I put it to 2, it doubles in speed. So it'll turn on for half a second and then turn on for half a second. So basically it's the 1 second divided by 2, and then it'll do on and off of that. So if I do it by 5, it'll divide 1 second to 5, and then it'll turn on for 0.2 seconds and turn off for 0.2 seconds. And if, you know, the highest you can go on this, on the frequency clock, is 100. So it'll do that. So it's basically every 10 milliseconds it'll turn on and off. But let's just do it on 1. And it's pretty simple. It gives an output of 10 every single time. So that's how the frequency clock works. Then we have frequency. Well, it's the difference between frequency clock and frequency. Frequency is basically, you can input a number into it. Let me just put it here. So you have an interface on the front that you can only apply by using these buttons. And it has a maximum of 3 seconds. So if I put this number interface here, and if I connect this to this one here, the 3 seconds is actually 3 seconds. So it'll turn on for 3 seconds and it'll turn off for 3 seconds. And as you can see, 50 is passing through it. So it's basically like a pass through. So if you have an input, if you want to say you want to have a clock that outputs like X amount of power and in like intervals, then you can have this. So you can input 50 seconds through here, and it'll turn it into a clock, and it'll turn it on and off every 3 seconds. And you can also turn it up to make it like it'll loop around, and now it's turning on every 0.1 second, or you can also do it at every 1 second. So it'll turn on for 1 second and turn off for 1 second, which is really nice. And it'll also turn off if there's no power. So you can, it's basically a toggleable clock that also gives the input, I mean the output of whatever the input of the clock is, which is 50. Then we have the sustainer. The sustainer will hold the input signal for the set time. So basically it prolongs an output, an input. So let's say we get the pressure plate right here. Pressure plates, you can turn them on instantly and turn them off instantly. So right now, the pressure plates, I think they have like, let me just connect it directly. So they're instantaneous, as you can see. You can turn them off and on instantaneously as soon as you step off. If I have a sustain one here on the right, this one is set to 1 second, so it'll stay on for 1 second. And it'll stay on as long as it is on, but then it'll stay on after it's turned off for 1 second. And you can also increase this to, I think, oh, this one goes by increments of 0.5, which is interesting. So I think the highest is 3. Yeah, the highest is always 3 seconds, which I think it shouldn't be there. I think I have another gate idea in posting in the Discord. But anyways, now it's going to stay on for 3 seconds after it is turned off. So press on it, it'll stay on for 3 seconds, and then it'll turn off. So if you want to prolong something, you can use the sustainer to basically make it stay on until it turns off after it has been deactivated, which is really nice. Oh, it seems that I have bought duplicates of the Hertz clock, so let's just yeet. And then we have the delay. The delay is it outputs this input value after the set time has passed. So the delay is actually very nice. It's very interesting. Basically, again, it has the max and minimum value of 0.1 and 3 seconds. So that's the highest. And what it does is it applies the signal after the set amount of time in here. So if I press it now, it'll trigger the delay, and after 1 second, it'll then trigger the LCD, just like that. And it will trigger perfectly the amount of power that has gone through. So the way it works is that it'll trigger the power that has been inputted into the timer in like exact amount, and it'll trigger it 1 second delayed. So if I stay on for this for 1 second, it'll stay. It'll like be delayed by 1 second. So it'll turn off 1 second later. It'll also turn on 1 second later, and it can also be 3 seconds. So it's gonna turn on after 3 seconds. Oh, so it'll turn on after 3 seconds, and it'll then turn off also after 3 seconds. So it's just delayed by 3 seconds. And this one is really cool because you can make like custom clocks with this, and that's pretty cool. And that's the delay. And also it also is a pass-through. So same goes for the sustainer. I just didn't mention it. Even the sustainer, it's a pass-through. So if you want to pass through 50, let's say, it'll pass through 50, just like that. So as you can see, it worked on the delay, and it'll turn off after 3 seconds as well. It holds it as well. And same goes for the sustain. So it'll turn on immediately, but then it'll then turn off after 3 seconds. So yeah, that's how the sustainer and the delay works. Then we have some two interesting gates here, not logic gates, just gates. This is a bit out and a bit in, and this is mostly for like binary stuff. If you inspect here, it takes in a linear signal and will output it to 5 bits of binary. So the way binary works is it's an on and off state. So binary means zeros and ones, but it uses 5 binary to count. So the first binary is equal to 1, and the second one is equal to 2, and the third one is equal to 4. So it doubles each one, and if you guys know how binary works, it's basically the way the binary works. So let's have this, and because it's 5 binary, it has 5 binary output, that means the highest number it can go to is 31. So if I put, let's say, this here, and then if I put this one here. So it has the bit in, bit out, and then bit in here. So it's bit in is the input. I'm going to pass through, let's say 5 through here, and then I'm going to put it to the bit out, and I'm going to connect it like this, I believe, and then it should output 5. Yes, so it's directly, you can connect them directly like this, and now it inputs 5, it then outputs it in binary, whatever it is, and then it'll output it back into 5 here, and then as you can see, it'll go there. The highest for this, I'm pretty sure, is 31, so it still outputs 30 like that, and it'll output 31 just like that, but it will not output 32. Yep, so it just breaks at 32 because it doesn't have enough bits to that. You need a 6th bit to go to 32, and so it won't work, and basically anything above 31, it will not output it at all. So yeah, this is really cool for making like encoders and stuff like that. So like if you want to basically turn analog, linear of like the power into binary, and then use that into a machine and then turn it into something else, that's how you can make like custom gates and stuff like that using binary. So that's basically how this works, which is really nice. And so that's the special gates and like AND gates and then the binary ones. Then we have, I like to call these ones the math gates, because they kind of it makes sense. So the blocker is the description. It's when the input signal on the right is 0, the input signal on the left will be outputted. It's kind of like a NOT gate in a sense, but it gives your own input, like it gives your own power input. So if I have this number interface, it's at 60. As you can see, that's 60. It's giving an output of 60, and then if I connect this to the LCD, it gets passed through and it gives blue, which is 60. And then if I get a switch, I can then just turn it off and on. So if I get this, when the switch is on, it will turn off the blocker. It'll turn on the blocker and it'll turn off the output, and that means we have no output. But when the switch is off, it will then turn off the blocker and pass the input of number interface through and to the LCD. So if you want something to turn off if something else is on, you use the blocker. And the relay works in a similar fashion, just opposite. So if I have this here, let's say the top one is the relay and the bottom one is the blocker. The relay will only work if the switch is on. So if the switch is on, the relay will turn on and it will pass through whatever the power is given on the left. Let's check that. And if the switch is off, it will turn off the relay and it will then turn off the pass through. So basically the output will be 0. And yeah, so basically the blocker is the opposite of relay and the relay is the opposite of a blocker, and as you can see, it works really well. Then we have a T flip-flop, one of my most favorite things, even in like other games like Minecraft and stuff like that. T flip-flops is so cool. Basically, T flip-flops, the way it works is, I forgot to look at the description. It toggles between an on and off signal, similar to a switch. Any input greater than 0 will toggle it. So it doesn't matter whatever you put into it, it'll give an output of 10 basically. And the way it works is that you don't even need the switch anymore. You can just take the button or even the pressure plate, and any input will basically toggle it like an on and off switch. So if I go over the pressure plate and go off, it stays on because it has toggled the T flip-flop on. And if I go onto the pressure plate again, it will now turn off the T flip-flop and make it turn off entirely. Same for the switch. If I press it once, it turns it on and stays on. If I press it once again, it turns off the T flip-flop and then turns off itself and no more output. Then we have the randomizer. The randomizer is very interesting. So it outputs a random signal between 0 and the input value. And it works in a very unique way where it has to be turned on. for it to give out a random output. So it allows you to change the range of it. So if I have, let's say, the number interface, okay, it has a value of 6 right now. Let's set it to 100. So now if I connect this to the randomizer, it will give a random output between 0 and 100, which is 88, like that. And right now it's giving purple. And every single time I reconnect it, it will give a random output. And it has to be turned off and on for it to give a random output. You cannot just keep adding inputs to it and expect it to give a random output. So if I had that switch, I don't give 42. And every time it, so if you do add power to it, it will give a random output. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so then let's say I have the frequency clock here. That makes things way more easier. I didn't know it was like this. So it does get, so if any input has, it changes, like it updates, it will update the randomizer as well. Okay, that's really cool. There you go. So it now will give a random output every 1 second. So if I set it to 100, as you can see, it'll completely randomize it, like all the time. Like even the numbers here are insane. Same goes for if I put the number interface to 1000, it'll give a random number between 0 and 1000, which is really nice. Set it to 1, and let's set this to 100 again. And that's how the randomizer works. Man, that makes things way more easier. I didn't know it could do this. Yeah, so it gives a random output every single time. Sometimes the simplest thing is the simplest thing. Yeah, is the easiest thing to make. Wow, I didn't know that. But yeah, that's how the randomizer works. Then we have the greater than gate. The greater than gate is, well, the greater than gate will output the left signal if the left signal is greater than the right signal. So if the left signal is larger than the right signal, it will then give out an output. So if I set this to 10, and if I set this to 10 on the right to 10, it will not give a signal because 10 is not bigger than 10. 10 is equal to 10. It has to be larger. So if I set the left one to 20, then it will allow it to pass through, and it will trigger the greater than gate, and it will allow it to pass through and then trigger the LCD. If it is lower than 10, or if it is 10, it will not output, and if it's 1, of course it won't output, and if it's 11, it'll output 11, and it'll let it pass through. So if I put it to 30, as you can see, 30, and it'll pass it to the LCD. Greater than gate is really good for like filtering out certain things, for filtering out certain powers that you don't want, and it's really good, really useful. Then we have the computer. The computer, or more so the calculator, it does math. Yeah, it does math. Oh, I forgot to look at the description. It applies math equations to the two inputted signals: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation, or just to the power of. That's what I call it. So I don't know how to display this. I'm just going to use it from the wire. Basically, you can change the mode of it by pressing E, and it'll go through the different modes. So we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. Yeah, so that's just to the power of. And let's do some simple math. Let's do 5 plus 5. And also the way it works is that the left is the thing. So left plus right. So left is all on the left side, left of the plus sign. So left plus right. Same goes for minus. Left minus right. Left times right. Left divided by right. And left to the power of right. That's how it works. So let's put plus 5 becomes 10. Just like that. Minus 5 minus 5, 0, of course. Times 5 times 5, 25. Duh. Divide 5 divided by 5 is 1. And to the power of 5 to the power of 5 is 3125. Let's set this to 2. that would make 5 to the power of 2 is 25, which is orange, which is really nice. And you can do some crazy stuff with this. People have already used this to make a lot of crazy stuff. I made the clock using two of these or 4 of these, I can't even remember. But yeah, I use the clock to use a calculator. It's pretty cool. And yeah, you can do math with it, which is nice. Okay, then we have something called the memory cell. The memory cell, it holds the inputted signal provided in the left input. The right input is able to reset the output. So what it does is that it holds whatever was the last input thing. So if I put this to here, if I set this here, as you can see, it now has 5 put into it. Right. If I change this to 10, it will also change the left one to 10. What? Okay. So yeah, it does in fact hold whatever was the last input. Now I don't know why it's not changing. Okay, it won't change. That's interesting. So it does in fact just hold whatever the last input was, and only the right can reset it. So if I put this button here, so now it's at 5, it'll reset. That's at 0, put this here, another 15. So it'll hold whatever the last input is. So if I put that's 30, it won't show, it won't take you in 30 because 15 was the last one. And then if I press the button, it's now 0. And then have to update this again to reattach it. It'll now then show 30. So you basically have to you have to update both the left and the right, for the memory to change memory, but it'll hold whatever was the last input, which is really nice. If I put this connected here, I think this should work. So let's put in 60. So it won't change because it's holding the last number that was last put in. I press a button. Oh, it adds it. So it's at 70. Okay, so we don't want it to do that. We just, yeah, so it has to update. So the left input has to update to whatever number it has to be, and also has to trigger it, which you can use by calculator and stuff like that to trigger it, or clocks for to trigger. So yeah, that's how the memory works. And it seems to have added both the button and the number interface to make 70, which is fine. You can put 0, and it should in theory put 10 because the button inputs 10. Yep, just like that. So yeah, so to use the memory, you basically have to reset the right one and then also update the left input to get whatever the output that you want, and it'll then save it until it is reset again, and so on and so forth, which is pretty cool. Then we have something called the incrementer. The incrementer is, as you can see, spelled in 2 different ways. We didn't talk about that, but basically what it does is the left input allows you to increase the output value by that input divided by 10. The right input resets the output value. So basically this is a counter. This is how you count stuff. If you place it here, basically what it does is have the output there, and it will count the amount of times I've pressed this. So I press it once, the button gives an output of 10. It'll go through the incrementer, gets divided by 10, and then it gets added to the output. So now it gives 1. Press it again, it gives 2. Press it again, it gives 3. And as you can see, the LCD is slowly lighting up every single time I press it. And then if you press the right one, it will reset it. So that's 7. Press on the right input, it resets it. And a cool thing you can do with this is that you can actually have, the frequency clock attached to it. So now it will add 1 every second. Let's make this faster. Put it to 10. Now it adds 10 every second, just like that. And then you can just reset it on the left here, and it goes back to 0, and it starts all over again. This is how you make counters. This is how you can make displays, like number displays. And incrementer is really cool. And surprisingly, it actually can have decimal stuff. So right now it's at 56. If I were to put 5 into it, which is smaller than 10, it puts 0.5. So it divides it by 10, obviously. It divides 5 by 10 and then it adds it, so you get 56.5. And if I just do it again, 57, because it added 0.5. So that's really cool. The incrementer is probably one of the coolest ones out of these. That's all of the logic gates. Now let's go into more input and output stuff. Or well, much more outputs and stuff like that. Here we have the laser, or more so the red laser. It outputs a signal of 10 if it hits an object, a signal of 5 if it hits a player. And this is the best part. It reflects off of privacy glass up to 5 times. We'll get to that in a bit, but let's just see how it works. So if I just place it, lasers have an infinite range. They literally have, actually no, never mind. They don't have an infinite range. That's sad. So they will update basically every second or like every millisecond, and basically if it will detect whether or not is there an item standing in front of it or a player standing in front of it, and it will output whatever that is standing in front of it. So if I have this here, LCD here, if I stand in front of it, yep, it's like that. If I stand in front of it, it gives an output of 5 because I'm a player. Now if I hold the privacy glass here, and because it's an object, okay, that doesn't count. Oh, wow, okay, never mind. Yeah, you can see, just saw how it worked. Let me just use a laser receiver then. There you go. So because this is an object, it is detecting an object, and so it will give an output of 10. Now as you saw there, privacy glass, even in its boxed form, it reflects the laser. And it can do it up to 5 times. I don't know how they coded this in, but this is just insanely cool. And so it'll detect me, just like that, 5, and it'll also detect whatever object I put in front of it. Just like that, if you can see it. Yep, there it is. This is so cool. I don't know how they did this. This is just item forming, which is so insane. But let's use it to reflect off of it 5 times. So I'm going to have a fairly large piece like this. And right now you can see it's not really working, right? Because it's like 90 degrees. Let me just do it like, let me just do it like this. It's still not working because this is turned off. This is toggleable glass. You can turn it on and it will become opaque, and if you turn it off, it will become transparent, which is really cool. And also the only way you can buy glass as well, which is really nice. But what it will also do is when it's turned on, it will reflect the laser. And I want to try something really cool. Is that I want to have, let's say I have this. I'm going to have 2 pieces of glass be like this. Make sure they're turned on. Oh. So they're turned on, and that's all the glass. Then I want to put this inside and then turn it ever so slightly towards the glass. Nope, the other way around. Nope, that's the wrong way around. Just like that. It works. It works so well. And yep, it reflects up to 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that. And it will detect me if I put this just like that. So it will detect me just like that if I even go into any one of these lasers. And that's just so cool. I can also increase the degree for it to go further out. Yep, just like that. It now detects all the way out here. Just move this here, and that's it. Now you have this one laser covering this entire area, and it'll detect me. If I put it like this, yep, it will detect me whenever I pass through any of the lasers. So that's really cool. Then we have something called the laser receiver. If I just move this about here, there's something called the laser receiver. The laser receiver will activate an output of 10 when a laser hits the receiver. So it's kind of the opposite of a laser. You want it to basically see that is a laser hitting it. So if I put this right around there, oh, I'm facing the wrong way. I put it like this, just like that. This should, in theory, give an output of 10. Yep, because the laser is hitting it. So the laser is bouncing off all of the glass, then hitting the laser here, and so it will give an output of 10. Now, if I were to block the laser, it would turn off the laser receiver. So it'll remove the power, and it will then turn it. Yep, it removes the power, gives it 0, and then the normal laser turns on and gives an output of 10. So you can detect basically. Oh, I think I broke it a little bit. But yeah, so it will basically detect whether or not the laser is hitting the laser receiver, and you can make some really cool games or like detection systems using this, which is really nice. Last but not least, we have, where did it go? Oh yeah, I was holding it. We have the material laser. The material laser can be assigned a material to the laser by touching the material on the schematic input. When the material hits the material, it will output a signal of 10. So if I just put this here, as you can see, the material laser is blue, and as you can see, it has a little thingy here. It has a material place. So if I were to, let's say, grab this piece of a wood here, petrified oak, I can assign it to the material laser by touching the schematic on the back, just like that. And then if I go inside of it, nothing will happen. But if I put this material specifically in front of it, it'll turn on, just like that. And it won't work for anything else. So even if I have, let's say, this box over here, nothing will trigger it. Only the set material will trigger it, just like that. And material laser is really good for filter systems, but there's also a new conveyor which makes filtering stuff way easier. But yeah, that's how the material laser works. That's really cool. Now we have a lot of the outputs, and let's talk about the three new conveyors that comes with the logic update. First off, we have the alignment conveyor. Now, what does it do? Let's look at this as a specific object. The alignment conveyor teleports any object that touch it into the center of the conveyor. So basically, whatever object touches the conveyor, or is even like within the head box on top of the conveyor, it will teleport it to the center of the conveyor. So basically, if you have like any clogging systems, or like if anything gets clogged, literally anything, you just watch here, it will get teleported to the center of the conveyor, just like that. It does have a cooldown on specific items. Like if the items have already gone through it, it'll have a cooldown, and then it'll go after some time. Let's have a test. So if I were to put this here, and let's say I have this over here, let's just say I have it like that. If I set this here, it'll then set it and get teleported. But as you saw, it teleports it not only to the middle, it also teleports it to the end. So if I make this really, really long, if I put this here, it teleports it all the way to the end. And that means we can do stuff like this. We can make item elevators instantaneous. And you can stack multiple of them together, and it'll teleport the item instantly all the way up, or whatever the direction you have it in. And it doesn't have to be on. So you have to like set it with the direction. So like when you're in build mode, that's the direction it will teleport to. So I can turn it off entirely, and it will still work just like this. I can even have it going backwards, and it'll still teleport it. Like it's weird. It's really weird. If I just put, let's say I put this here, I might maybe be able to make a clock. I have this here, so it'll get stuck there. We'll then teleport it after the cooldown is down. Okay, no. So I think like I think once it gets teleported, it doesn't get teleported again. So until like it's been in, until it's gotten out of the hitbox and then back in again, which is just interesting. But yeah, that's how the alignment conveyor works. It goes the direction that you're in build mode set, so you can use it. You can see it in build mode which way it's going, and then teleport it wherever you want to, and make whatever like teleporters you want to make, which is really cool. Then let's do this one first. Then we have a new conveyor, which is the 4-way conveyor, and this is actually going to be the first time I open this. The 4-way conveyor is interesting, to say the least. It has 4 different ways, so like no, 5 total ways, and it goes a different direction basically depending on what's on here. So it goes in 4 different ways, so you can have it go in multiple different ways. You can have this be in like a chute, and it will like go depending on what the item is. You can make some really cool stuff with this, and I'm going to be going over how you can control these using logic. You cannot directly hook stuff up to it. So if I get this as a later receiver, you cannot like directly hook stuff up to it, which I think it should be, but like you have to use something called an interactor. We'll get to that in a bit. But this is the 4-way conveyor, and as you can see, it goes in 4 directions, and it also has an off state like that. So that is pretty cool. And now for the start of the show, we have a filter conveyor, and this filter conveyor, it is amazing. It allows the pass-through of a specific object or type. Assign the object by touching it onto the pad. Some properties may be assigned. So, oh, I forgot to check the description of this. A conveyor can go in 4 directions. It is best used with an interactor and logic. Yep, it says it there. So you have to use an interactor to use it, but we'll get what an interactor does in a bit. A filter conveyor is very interesting. So it's a normal conveyor. It's a normal straight conveyor. Okay, normal straight, that can be resized in any direction like that, and it's can be pretty long. Let me just set it to the max distance like that. It works a similar way. You can change the direction, you can turn it off and on, just like that. And you can set an object to it, just like the material laser, by touching it there. So let's say I get the interactor. I put it here. Now I can say it's the box interactor is the filter. Now right now the filter conveyor is actually turned off. So anything will go through it. Anything except what the filter is. Since the interactor box is the filter, the box of interactor cannot go through it. If it is on, which is allow pass through and deny pass through, which is allow pass through, it will start working like normal. So it will not allow anything else to pass through other than the filter it has, which is a box conveyor, a box interactor, and the interactor will go through. This is really, really good. This makes filtering things 100 times easier. But now you may be asking, what if I want multiple things to go through in the same exact spot, but like you can only apply one single thing here? How do you apply like multiple things here? Well, you can stack filter conveyors and they'll work, which is really cool. So that's why I bought another second filter conveyor here. Let's say we have this number interface box here and this teddy bear from like a video a long time ago. I can set the teddy bear as a filter here, like that, item ready, and now only the teddy bear can pass through here and not even the box interactor. But I want both of them to go through, but not this number interface. I don't want this number interface to go through. I want the box interactor, and the teddy to go through. So I'll add a filter conveyor over here, and then I'll add the interactor to the filter. Let's turn it on. Now, what you can do is you can put it inside of the other filter conveyor. It's a bit glitchy over here, but if I put this petrified oak, it will not pass through. If I put this number interface, it will not pass through. But if I put an interactor, it will go through. I don't know how they did this, but it will basically, you can stack the filter conveyors, and both the teddy and the interactor will pass through, even if there's only they're stacked on top of each other, which is really interesting. And another thing to note is that if one of them is turned off, if one of the filter conveyors is turned off for any reason, it'll turn all of it off. It will turn all of the filter conveyors off, and everything will start passing through it, just like that. So the interactor box will not go through, but everything else should go through, except for the teddy. Yeah, even the teddy should go through. Okay, so you want to have them separately. Next up, we have the music note. Music note is basically a way to get sound into the game, and it has a lot of things. So if I were to get, let's say, this number interface and this frequency clock, you can assign, let me just expand the object. You can play different notes depending on the input signal, can change music type by interacting. So it goes by number, I think. I have this there. So 5 is that. If I go by 10, gives 10. And then you can also change the sound. If I do this, yep, let me just increase the volume. And that's it. That's all the sounds. And so I don't know what's exactly the range. It could be from 1 to 30 or something. I'm not entirely sure. But it goes by notes. So it goes by the normal music notes to A to G. And I think there's also sharps in between. And it has musical instruments, which is interesting. It doesn't have normal sounds. It has musical instruments. So you can probably make some song with this, which is really nice. And this is just one note, and you can see it already has a lot of variations. So I expect to see Bad Apple being played on an LCD and out of music notes using this. Someone must do it. They have to. It's a prophecy. They have to. You have to do it. Good luck. But anyway, yeah, that's the music note. It's pretty cool, and you can probably make some alarm systems using this. So that's nice. Now we're going to talk about the interactor. Finally, what is this thing? How does this work? These are all blocks or parts that have been added before the logic update. A turntable that you can use to turn stuff around, the side lamp, the property spawn, like this. This is a spawn pad. The elevator, conveyors, as well as car spawns. The interactor, if I inspect, it interacts with objects or structures within the world. Requires permission from the user. So what this does is it's basically you pressing E on this conveyor. Right now, this conveyor is that you press E to turn it to the left, turn it to the right. The interactor, if you connect it up, like so, you can now control the conveyor using this. And if I get, let's say, the number interface, you can now control this conveyor by using numbers. So 0 is left, 10 is right, and 5 is off, which is middle. So 0 is left, which is 0. Yeah, makes sense. 10 is also to the right, and 5 is the middle. The same goes for, I think, I don't think the same. I don't think it's exactly the same, but let's see. So we have it connected here. 5 is off. Okay, that makes sense. 10 should be, which way is this? 10 is forward. 0 should be, it's all to the left. Okay, so 0, okay, this is interesting. 0 to the right. So let's say this is the front. 0 to the right. No, this is the front. 0 to the left. 10 is to the back. 15? 1 is to the right. And then 6 is 7? So I think is it like, okay, yeah, so it is. So it's in divisions of 2.5. How do I explain this? So 0 is one direction, as you can see. It changes the thing on the left. Above 0, let's say 2.5. Or just 2 in general. I'll just say 2. 2 is the second direction. Okay, now I don't even know anymore. What? I am so confused. 10. 5. Okay, 5 doesn't even work anymore. 6. Nope. 3? Nope. 8. 8 works. Then what's 0? Okay, so it seems that there is no turn off for this. I can't seem to get it. I don't know. It doesn't even say how it works here. Yeah, I just can't figure it out. This is some weird thing. But yeah, that's how that's how it works for conveyors. It's just one conveyor. Then we have the turntable. So as you can see, you can toggle it on and off. It doesn't have any direction or anything. And then you can just put this there. Let's get a switch. And you can turn it off. And on. And off. And on. Just like that. Lights are... They seem to have an input. They're supposed to have an input. Oh, this one is not even... This one is not filled in. Okay, so I have filled it in. So you cannot... If I do this... Yeah. Even though it does seem to have like a little thing here, I think that's just a button. You cannot connect it, so you have to use an interactor. And if I get this connected, yep, that's turned off. That's turned on. Turned off, turned on. Now, let's see if numbers work on this, because I actually never tried this. 10. 1. Okay, no, numbers have no correlation to it. If I put 0, turns it off. So it's basically just an on and off. So yeah, that's how you can turn on lights and stuff. Now we're gonna go on to the more fun things, which is the spawn pad. And you guessed correctly. If I get this connected. Oh, there you go. You can force spawn yourself. Just like that. It's so cool. And as you can see, you can press E on it, so that means it's interactable. And you can like force respawn yourself. And you can do this, like you can have a commander, which I'll get to in a bit. You can have a commander attached to it, and like it'll basically force respawning from anywhere around the world. It doesn't matter how far you are. I can even have it set all the way over here. I would connect it to the thing. Oh, and there we go. Just like that. It was kept on, so like it did it by itself. That's how you can make auto spawning machines and stuff like that. Then we have the elevator. The elevator has been here for a while. Now, the way this one works in the recent technology update is that you can make elevators. I don't mean like just turn them on and off. They have like, we can only have one floor. You can have multiple floors. And I mean multiple floors. Elevators have now been changed. You can now make them as thin as one stud. Just like that. And they've increased in height. A lot. They've increased in height much more than before. So let's make it a bit bigger. And also they have the same size as before, like width-wise, where you can like fit a car almost in it. But let's just say this is for a person. Now this thing has, it has speed and stuff like that. You turn it off, you turn it on. Let's make it all the way fast. Well, now it's a speedy elevator. It'll now go all the way to the top. And we are now at the top. You can see, pretty high up. Let's go all the way down. You can control what height the elevator goes to depending on the amount of power you put through it through an interactor. If I were to put this here, and then let's say I put this, let's just use a slider. Slider would be best for this because it is only from 0 to 10. So elevators now have a range from 0 to 10, and 1 means it'll go to the 10% height. 2, 20%. I don't know what that is, but whatever height that is. And then 10 means 100%. So this means that you can have multi-floor elevators. Yep. You can now make elevators. And like, these are like car elevators, player elevators, you name it. It's possible now. I can in fact put this Oakmobile on top of this, so we can just put it all the way down. Just like that. Now, the car will go up. I'm just going to send it all the way up. I've already made like a chat-based elevator system. Here's a little short video of it. I made it for my friend, and I'm also gonna make one in my plot, and I'm gonna make a whole tutorial on it. But like this, it's just so cool that the amount of power you put through it, that's the amount of height it'll go to, and it works so well for cars. Preferably you want to go a bit slower for cars because they do, lag behind, and for players it's completely fine, but for cars it's a bit laggy, so you want to go a bit slower. But other than that, we can have multi-floor elevators, which is just amazing. And last but not least, interactors can also turn it can basically respawn cars. If I place it there, and if I get this here, put a switch. If I turn it off, which is turn off, yep, then connect it, boom, it can respawn cars. And that's just amazing. That is really, really cool. Yeah, that's I think every use case scenario for the interactor. You can also do some pretty cool stuff, but you can like turn, filter conveyors off and on, or you can also, I think you can also interact with the items. I believe you can turn crates on and off, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Let's just try it now. Let's see. So if I were to put this interactor here, will it turn off? Yep. So as you can see, interactor is basically just you pressing E on it. So you can do some crazy stuff with this. Like some crazy stuff with this. And they also work on these things like the lights, the fire emitters, as well as, I forgot to show, they work on doors. If I get this all the way here, this garage door over here, if I get a switch, let's say I place it here, and then I apply the switch, just like that. Now you have a switch that I can just touch from here. Oh, there we go. And it can open and close it. They also apply on doors, and that's the only way you can open and close doors, by using interactors. So yeah, that's I think all the use cases of interactors. You can also apply it on like delay things, but it's just not that good. Or you can also make a useless machine and make it turn it off itself. Let me just do that right now. Or make a clock. That also works. that is amazing. So yeah, interactors basically work on anything that you can press E on. So if you can turn this, if you want to turn this lamp off, you can. Just like this. If you want to, that is. Yeah, that's how interactors work. So yeah, let me swap to my second plot so that I can finally explain the final few stuff. Yeah. So I got all the parts on my second plot. I have way more money here. So let's continue with the logic. Oh, there you go. Okay. So let's talk about these things now. Here we have something called the commander. The commander activates an output when the assigned phrase is in a chat message. Outputs 10 if it is the owner, and outputs 1 if it is a random player. So the commander is really cool. Let's say I get this here. Let's say I had this LED. I can then connect it here. And now, if I say right now, there is nothing assigned to it right now. There's nothing assigned to it. If I say anything in chat, it will turn on. If I say anything in chat, hello, bye, anything in chat, it will turn on. It'll also give a power of 1 if anyone else talks in chat. So it puts an output of 10 if I talk, and it puts an output of 1 if anyone else talks. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense. Now, there's some interesting tricks that you can do with this. Basically, you can also assign things. So let's say I assign the word car to it. If I say hello, okay, it won't trigger it. If I say goodbye, it won't trigger it. If I say car, it will trigger it. If I say truck, it won't trigger it. But if I say car, it will trigger it. If I say car in any shape or form, so the car, it'll trigger it. Or just is a car, or just car is anyway. Even if it's like if I just have, and then a car, and then like in the middle of it, there's a car in the middle of it, it'll trigger it. It'll look for the phrase car just by itself. That's what it'll look for. So even if I place, let's say, a letter A, so car has a letter A, it'll trigger it. The doesn't have a letter A, so it won't trigger it. But then RC has a letter A, so it'll trigger it. So basically, it looks for specific letters. Even if you can also set it to look for numbers. 1, it'll trigger it. Now, an interesting thing that you can do this, and this is, I got this from the person called Mahdi, Mahdi. This goober is really cool. His YouTube channel, if you didn't know, it's they figured out something which is really interesting, and I didn't know about this. But let's say you want to set this to respawn truck. Okay, so you want this to send out a signal to respawn a truck, and it shows up in the chat, and it'll respawn a truck. But as you can see, it applies it on the chat, and basically anyone else can see it and anyone else can trigger it. So you want to filter out everyone else and only make it so that only you can use it. So that's what I have this system here. It's using a greater than gate. So basically, this is, so you slide at 1. So if the signal is greater than 1, then it will pass through to the interactor and it will respawn the Cellular Explorer. However, let's say I don't want this. I can make the chat. I mean, no, it'll still work, but it'll show up in the chat. So if I set this to like car, it'll show up in the chat. People can use it, but they won't know what it does. What you can do is you can set this to E, like the E emotes command. So E car. If you use it in the chat, it will work. But it will also work if someone else uses it. So if someone else also say E car, it will also work. But it will not show up on the chat. The one I like to use more is actually /W, which is whisper, /whisper car. What this does is it shows you what command you use, but it doesn't show to anyone else. So because it looks for a user car, there is no user car in the server, so it won't work. So if I just do /car, as you can see, it works here. It won't show up in the chat for everyone else. And you can also add the filter so that 1, it won't show up in the chat. 2, it'll only work for you. And even if someone else uses the same exact command, it will not work for them. Like, it won't trigger anything. And this is what I have it set here. I have it set to W truck. So when I say truck, it spawns in a truck, just like this. And it's really the chat commander. I love it. It's such a cool thing. I never thought of it at all. Like, it's just so cool. We just respawn the truck. There you go. So the chat commander, you can use it to basically take output from the chat itself. It's incredible. So yeah, that's the chat commander. Then we have transmit and receivers. Transmitters and receivers. Transmitters and receivers are another extremely cool thing. They're similar to the commander, but also not similar at the same time. They're basically antennae, and they allow for wireless energy transfer. So I've set the transmitter here, and I've sent the receiver here. Let's say I connect this LCD to this receiver, and then I set this number interface to this transmitter. Right now, they are unassigned. They have no value here, so they'll work normally, and they'll work normally by themselves. As you can see, the 13 value is being put to the transmitter and is being output to the receiver. Just like that, 13, and is being worked. If I put 20, red, just like that. And if I put 30, it should be orange. Just like that. So it works. Like, it literally passes through the signal and power just via no wire. So that's really cool. But another thing you can do is that you can assign a frequency or a value to it, which it'll only work within that value. So let's say we set this to channel 1. So it's channel space 1. Now, if the receiver will basically, right now it's still like, it's like full receiving. So like, it'll like take in any input. But if I set this to channel 1, as you can see, it still works. Right. But if I set this to channel 2, I need to update it, I think. Okay, it seems that it gets stuck on that. So let me just go to channel 1, set it to 0. That it worked there. But then if I go to channel 2, and then I try to change it to, let's say, yellow, as you can see, it didn't transfer because these two are on different channels. Now if I set this to channel 1, and then if I update it again, so back to 40. Oh, it didn't change. Let's do 30. Now it works. So the transmitter and receivers, they need to be on the same frequency. Like this, basically think of it as radio frequencies. They need to be on the same radio frequency to work. And there is literally no possible way to crack this code. So you can literally send it as basically anything. Okay, no one will be able to crack this. Full on copy paste it. So copy it. It's assigned. You can copy it, assign it, go to here, paste it, assign it, and now you have wireless power, and no one else can tamper with it. And the reason why I'm saying that no one else can tamper with it, and I mean you can have like multiple frequencies, is that transmitters and receivers work across plots. So if you have a transmitter, okay, and if you say it's at channel 1, and if someone else has a receiver with also channel 1, they too will get whatever the signal is on the transmitter. So you want to make each transmitter unique to yourself and not make it simple like this, like channel 1 or 1. You want to set it to unique to yourself. So like, let's just say ArceyPlayz channel 1, and you want to put some random stuff so that it never works. And that's how receivers and thing work. So then I can just copy this, paste it here, and then it works again. So if I put 60, it'll turn into blue, just like that. That's it. That's how transmitter and receivers work, and they go across. They go across the plots. They go across plots. So you can have logic going across plots, which is incredible. That is insane. Like that it actually worked like that. It's so cool. No, this is about on the transmitter and receiver, if I kind of forgot. Then we have the weather. Oh, that's daylight. We have weather and daylight sensors. Weather sensors and daylight sensors. The weather sensor, let's just start with the weather sensor. This is the about section. It outputs a signal of 1 to 4. Not 0, 1 to 4. And it's 1 for sunny, 2 for cloudy, 3 for rain, and 4 for thunderstorm. That means that basically when it gives a different signal depending on what the weather is. Just a while ago it was raining, so that means that it would give a signal of 4. Right now it has become very cloudy, so it's going to give it a signal of 2, I believe. Yep, it is giving a signal of 2. You can use this to basically make systems where you can show that, hey, it is raining now, so that's what the weather system is, or it's thundering, or stuff like that. You can use it just for that, and you can like single each number out so that it works. So that's really cool. And the other thing you can do is, well, yeah, you can use AND gates to basically like make it work. And that's really cool. That's the weather sensor. It's pretty simple. Then we have the daylight sensor. And the daylight sensor is what I used for this clock right here. As you can see, I did a bit more upgrades to it. It's now a rainbow clock. But basically, the daylight sensor, the way it works is that it gives a signal output of 24 hours. So 0 to 20. Depending on the time of day. So as you can see, output the number from 0 to 24 depending on the current time of day. Not really 24, it's more to 0 and 23 because 0 is 24 in 24-hour clocks. So right now it's 20. So that means that is 8 p.m. right now. And that's what it shows here. 20 as well. And as you can see, it is not easy to turn that 20 into, well, a number. And yeah, it's a bit crazy to do it, but I made a whole video on the 24-hour clock system. You can watch that. And yeah, the daylight sensor is really cool for making clocks, and it can also be used for, you know, checking if it's nighttime, if it's daytime, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the daylight sensor. Then we have the proximity sensor. The proximity sensor outputs a signal if a player is within 15 studs. I'll get to over how big 15 studs is. Outputs 10 if the player is the owner, 5 if the player is trusted, and 1 if the player is untrusted, meaning random people. And it is a very small block, and it's good because we want this to be very small. This is the range. Yeah, I don't know what is that exactly. 15 blocks. Okay, never mind. So the radius is 15, not the radius is 15. So that means it has a diameter of like 30, which is nice. 29, I mean. So yeah, so it has a radius of 15 blocks, and it'll give an output of 10 if it's the owner, which is me. It's a 5 if it's trusted. So if it's like someone like your friend and you can give them trust permissions, it'll give a 5 for them, and it'll give a 1 if it's a random player. So that's really cool, and it turns on every time you're in vicinity of it. It'll turn off if you're not. And it'll also goes like in 3D. So if I were to stand a bit more down or a bit closer, that detects me there, and it should detect me when I'm over here. Yep, but it won't detect me from above here. Yep. So with this, you can actually make automatic doors, like just attaching it, let's say, right over here. And then if I were to get an interactor like that, apply it to this door, and then attach it to this thing, now you have an automatic door. So if I go close to it, it'll open by itself. If I go away from it, it'll close by itself. Just like that. It's very simple. And this will also trigger it for like basically everyone else. But so you want to make some filters so that it'll only work when you're nearby. So that's how the proximity sensor works, which is pretty cool. Then we have something which is, it is so good. The collider. The collider is a block or a tool that you can use to enable and disable collisions with filled schematics in the world. This means that you can turn on and off collisions. If I turn that on, it's a completely different color than the interactor. And if I get, let's say, a number interface, and then I attach it there, as you can see, it has 60. It's not touching the thing, so let me just move it a bit closer. If this powers on, it will make the thing that it's attached to uncollidable. And even if you move it away, it will stay uncollidable. And if you put it back, let's say you want to put it back, you want to make it collidable again, you attach it, and then you attach it to it, the power, and then you turn it off. And it's back to being normal collision. And this works on basically anything that you used to fill something. So I can use it on this wall, it will make it uncollidable. I can use this on this door because it's filled with wood. I can make it uncollidable. You cannot make stuff like machines, conveyors, spawners, stuff like this. You cannot make those uncollidable. But anything that you filled in, you can make it uncollidable. And this is just so cool. You can make custom doors using this. You don't even need to use these doors anymore. You can just make a secret hidden door somewhere in the thing, and it will turn on and off by itself whenever you're nearby. And again, you can use the proximity sensor to like make it work by itself. So like this is just so cool. The collider and stuff like that. Like it's just so cool. And so this is another really cool little thing. Lastly, we have the lock. The lock is a structure that comes with a key. It outputs a signal of 10 when the clock is turned. The signal may stay activated if the key is taken out of the lock while the lock is turned. So it's interesting. Basically, you get a key that is a physical object. And the thing about this is that you can accidentally lose it. You can in fact lose the key. And as it said, connect this here. Right now it's using no power out. But then if I connect it, editing arc here, I was being a ooga booga dumb guy here. You're supposed to basically place the key nearby and then press E on the lock. It'll then insert the key by itself, and then you can press on turning it. That's how it works. Not by putting it physically into it and trying to turn it. That's not how this works. I'm being an ooga booga brain here. But the way it works is that it's basically like a switch. It's basically like a switch that you can turn off and on, and you can completely make it locked. So you can put it in, you can turn it, and then you can eject it out. That way it will stay on and you don't need the key anymore. And then you can also put back the key, turn it off, and then take it out again. It'll stay off. And it basically uses the key as like a little key card type of thing, which is really cool. Yeah, I don't know how this works. That's the lock. Now we go on to the more cooler things. Displays, and specifically the 14 segment display the 7-segment display, and the electronic billboard. Let's start with the 7-segment display. The 7-segment display allows you to display numbers. Bottom middle input allows you to provide a number input to display. Bottom left input allows you to provide a color. Top middle input is a pass-through for the number input. And optionally, you can individually activate every segment. So this is what it looks like from the front. It's a display, just like the one in the clock in here. And the back, well, it looks like this. It has a total of two inputs. These are bottom and other inputs. One output, and one input for every single display by itself. And let's say we have this number interface. Let's say we show 0 into it. We put it into this number interface. As you can see, it shows nothing, because 0 means it's not powered. If I were to put 1, it shows 1. If I were to put 2, it shows 2. 3 and so on until 10. So 9 shows 9, and 10 shows 0. So 10 shows 0, not 0. 0 shows nothing because it's unpowered. 10 shows 0. And then if you go above 10, so if you go to 11, it gets unpowered because it doesn't work. That's how what do you call it? That's how the bottom right bottom right input works, or bottom middle one works. Okay, that works. That makes sense. You can also just apply power to each one of these by themselves. That's fine. You guys understand that. It works the same way as the LCD here. Now, the way that, let's say I do power this one here. As you can see, it's just powered on. Doesn't matter. Wait, no, I think it does have. Okay, I don't know. I think the top one is just, it's like, you know, it becomes like an LCD basically. So like it just brightness levels only. So that's fine. But then let's look at the 14-segment display. So right now it's giving out 10. The top one is a bit bugged out, so let me just replace it. Like that. Now it's giving 10, so it's 0. Let's put this through the 14-segment display, and as you can see, the 14-segment display has a few more stuff. Way more segments. Well, duh, because it's the 14-segment display. What this helps, the difference between this and this is that they do have different, basically numbers, like different looking numbers. So 1 looks like a 1, it looks like a better one. 2 looks the same. 3 looks a bit different. Same goes for 4. Oh yeah, 4 is the same. 5 also the same. 6 also the same. 7 is also the same. 8 is also the same. And 9 is, I think, different. Yep, 9 is like that on that one. And 10 is also a bit different, which I think this one looks way cooler. But then, if you put 11, you get letters. Which is, okay, so this is how you get letters in the game on the 14-segment displays. So 11 is equal to 1. 12 is equal to B. 11 is equal to A, not 1. 11 is equal to A. And 12 is equal to B. So that means that for the 26 letters in the game, or in the alphabet, you basically get the letters based off of the 26 letters plus 10. So that means X should be 34, which it is. And 36 means it's Z, just like that. So basically using this, you can then make like custom letters, custom billboards by using the different numbers and letters to just basically make your own little billboard. And this is only work for the 7-segment display and not the, I mean, it only works for the 14-segment display and not the 7-segment display. Now let's show 10. So it shows 0, 0. Let me get another number interface. You can, in fact, get color into them by using the bottom left input. So if I just do this, as you can see, now it's red because 1 is equal to red. 0 is default. 1 is red. 2 is orange and 3 is yellow. So it goes off of the color of the rainbow, slightly different. 4 is green, 5 is blue, 6 is cyan, which is a bit weird, but that's fine. And then 8 is purple, 9 is silver, and 10 is just black. So yeah, that's how the color input works on displays. So yeah, it's 1 to 10, and it doesn't work after 11. I mean, it just becomes default after you go above 10. So yeah, that's how you get the color display. And of course, if I do 7, it's pink, so on and so forth. And you can also it just works. So I put 5, changes, and if I make it go to 34, which is X, you get pink X, just like that. If you look over here, okay, if I cut this, the top middle input is a passive for the number input. The top middle input, this is not an input, which is the weird part. It's an output. And it goes outwards like this. But you cannot attach it to other ones, but you can put it there. However, if I just set number, oh, I think I broke it somehow. If I put 10, no, if I put 5, it gives an output of 10. No matter what the number is below, it will give out an output of 10. So the bottom one is a number input, so it's supposed to supposedly it's supposed to take in this number and then output the number on the top here. So that it's basically a pass-through, but it doesn't seem to do that, and it just gives a binary of 0 or 10, when if it's 10 if it's on, if the display is on, and 1 if the display is off. So I don't know what it exactly does, but that's just how that works. But yeah, that's the digit displays, or the letter and number displays. Now let's go over the final part, the electronic billboard. The electronic billboard is, well, it's an electronic billboard where you can display images on. So as you can see, it has only one input, and it displays an image depending on what the input signal is. The input signal has to be a Roblox image ID. An easy way to input this number is with a number interface, which is right. So let's put this number interface over here. And right now it's showing a number of 7, and it's not showing anything. Let me put just a random number. Let's see what shows up. Of course, nothing, because that's just a random number. Oh, something did show up. It's nuclear bombs. What? Okay, let's put another number in it. It takes some time to take it from the Roblox, marketplace and stuff like that. So 9 times out of 10, it'll just be a black screen, and then until it changes, but it will be set to a specific one. Let me just take one image that I saved. There we go. And this should in fact show up just like that. And you can also resize it so that it fits the dimensions correctly. Oh, it connected to the wrong thing. There we go. Just like that. It works. And yeah, so you can in fact make animated displays, just they take some time to load in and out. And you can make it like a clock, so it loads it by itself and stuff like that. But other than that, that's how the display works. You can basically display any image, logic base it, and it'll work fine, completely fine. You can, in fact, I think, if I just take the Oaklands ID, the game ID, post it here, it should come up with the logo. Yep. It came up with the Oaklands logo, and it will update depending on what the logo is for Oaklands. Or it just shows the first image. Huh. It shows the first image of like the Oaklands thing, which is pretty neat. But yeah. That's how the display works. Let me just make it 1:8. I mean, or 1:7. And if you want to figure out how to make like the perfect size for them, basically you just want to find what the pixel ratio is. So like you want to see what's the quality of this, and then try to simplify it as much as you can. So let's say 1,000, let's say the image is 4K. That's what, 4,000, around 4,000 by 2,000. So you want this to be a multiple of 2 and 4. So that's around like this. So 4,000, 2,000, you want it to be a multiple of this. So you want it to be like scale off of that. So now it's 8 and 4. So a 4K image would fit perfectly on here now. And it wouldn't stretch as much. Even though it's not perfect, that's the best you can do. And also you can, I think, you can resize it like 0.25 and stuff like that. So it'll still work nonetheless. So yeah, that's pretty useful. So yeah, I think I have covered every aspect of the new logic update. I've already started using it all over my one plot build. As you can see, I have the truck spawner here, which it will spawn a truck whenever I say w/w truck, just like that, and it will show what command I used, and it will only show it to me. Then I can take this out, or try to. There you go. I have the doors outside of my plot automated. Usually, before I had to just toggle them like from here manually because they would always come out closed. Now I don't have to do that. I can make it so that it'll do it by itself because I have interactors working on all of them. And as you can see, the road outside, it's all automatic. If I turn this off, everything tries to turn off. Some things they can't collide, so like it'll stay like that, but it turns on by itself nonetheless, and it works really well. As well as I have, well, the clock using the logic, and I made it rainbow because it just looks way cooler. I'm going to do more stuff on the logic. I'm going to make like an automatic, like a billboard, like a working billboard. Those how do you say? Those curved billboard you see in some places. I'm going to make one here. I'm going to make it a animated map billboard, which is going to be really cool. But yeah, that's it for this video. This took me 2-3 hours to record, which is insane, but that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have fun with your logic, by the way, and good luck with logic. Build off. Yes. Whatever. Anyway, bye.